Hello everyone, and welcome to the Saiyan What Ifs. So we are back with an interesting movie on what if Goku became the Chaos God and fell in love with the Time Empress. But before we start, I just want to remind you to please subscribe to my channel and hit the like button if you enjoy my content. Let's start the story. Chapter 1. The Ascension. The universe, shattered around Son Goku like a kaleidoscope breaking apart. His opponent, a being that had introduced itself only as Nexus, twisted reality with casual flicks of its elongated fingers. Space folded in impossible angles. Gravity reversed and intensified randomly, and the very air transformed from oxygen to liquid mercury and back again. Goku's lungs burned as he phased through another dimensional trap, his Ultra Instinct form leaving trails of silver-blue light that cut through the distorted reality. Despite the divine power coursing through him, he felt overwhelmingly outmatched. Nexus wasn't just powerful, it existed partially outside conventional reality, making his attacks pass through it like mist. "You fight impressively for a mortal elevated beyond his station," Nexus said, its voice resonating from everywhere and nowhere simultaneously. "But you cannot defeat that which exists between the frames of creation." Goku wiped blood from his mouth, his white hair rippling with divine energy. "Maybe not. But I've never let impossible odds stop me before." He crouched, muscles coiling with tension. "And I'm not about to start now." He launched forward, faster than light, his East connecting with solid resistance for the first time since their battle began. Nexus's expression, if the shifting geometric patterns across its face could be called that, registered something akin to surprise. "Interesting. You've adapted to perceive my actual form." Nexus's body flickered, becoming temporarily visible as a towering humanoid composed of interlocking mathematical equations and fractal patterns. "Perhaps you are more than a cosmic accident after all." Goku pressed his advantage, each strike finding purchase where before there had been nothing. He channeled his ki into concentrated points, targeting the nodes where the equations intersected. Nexus retaliated by tearing open the fabric of reality itself, revealing the swirling chaos that existed between dimensions. "You see, I no comprehend what you're interfering with, Saiyan," Nexus hissed, genuine anger replacing its previous detachment. "The cosmic convergence approaches. The boundaries between order and chaos must be reinforced, not weakened by anomalies like you." The entity's hands closed around a point in empty space and pulled. Reality tore open like fabric, revealing a churning vortex of pure potentiality, raw, unformed creation energy that predated the universe itself. The cosmic wound expanded, threatening to swallow everything within 1,000 light-year radius. Goku felt the pull of the chaotic energy, recognizing the immediate threat to countless inhabited worlds. Without hesitation, he positioned himself between the rift and the nearest solar system. Kaioken times 20, the Crimson Aur, erupted around his already divine form, multiplying his power to levels that made his body scream in protest. The combination of godly energy and mortal technique created an unstable reaction that Raiden to tear him apart at a cellular level, but he maintained his position, becoming a bulwark against the encroaching chaos. Nexus observed with detached curiosity. "Fascinating. You would sacrifice yourself for lesser beings. Your potential is wasted on such primitive instincts. These primitive instincts are what make life worth protecting." Goku countered, pushing back against the void with everything he had. The effort caused blood vessels to burst beneath his skin, creating spiderweb patterns of crimson beneath the surface. "If you're so evolved, why destroy instead of create? Creation without purpose is meaningless," Nexus replied. "The cosmic convergence will reset the parameters, establish new boundaries. What exists now is a failed iteration." The entity raised both arms, drawing more power from the chaotic void. The rift expanded exponentially, its gravitational pull now so intense that nearby stars began to elongate toward it. Goku realized that his current approach was insufficient. He couldn't match this kind of power directly. In that moment of clarity, time seemed to slow around him. His mind, accelerated by divine awareness, processed countless possibilities in milliseconds. He needed to close the rift, but conventional energy attacks would only feed it. The solution crystallized with startling simplicity. If chaos recognized chaos, perhaps he LD redirect the energy rather than oppose it. Goku ceased his resistance, allowing the chaotic energy to flow through rather than against him. Instead of fighting the current, he became the conduit, channeling the raw potential through his body and redirecting it in a perfect circle that led back to Nexus itself. "What are you?" Nexus's question terminated abruptly as its own chaos energy boomeranged back, amplified by Goku's ki. The mathematical patterns comprising its form began to unravel, equations rewriting themselves into contradictions. "Impossible. You cannot redirect primordial chaos. No mortal vessel can contain." The backlash of energy created a paradoxical loop between them. Nexus, being partly composed of the same chaotic energy it manipulated, began to destabilize. Its foe, flickered between dozens of potential configurations, unable to settle on a single state of existence. Goku felt something fundamental changing within himself as well. The chaotic energy wasn't CMPLY passing through him anymore, it was merging with him, rewriting his essence on a level beyond physical or even spiritual. Each cell in his body became a universe unto itself, containing infinite possibilities. Pain beyond anything he had experienced engulfed him as his very nature transformed. He was simultaneously everywhere and nowhere, expanded across all possible states of existence while also concentrated into a singularity of consciousness. The Saiyan who had transcended mortal limitations now found even his divine form being superseded by something else entirely. "You've done the impossible," Nexus gasped, its form continuing to deteriorate. "You've created a paradox at the quantum level. I am unmaking myself by unmaking you, yet you persist." The entity's final words were lost as it collapsed inward, imploding into a point of infinite density before vanishing altogether. The rift, however, remained, a gaping wound in reality that continued to spill chaotic potential energy into this universe. Goku, now suspended in a state beyond physical form, instinctively reached for the edges of the tier. His consciousness extended like countless fingers, grasping the ragged boundaries and drawing them together. The effort wasn't physical but metaphysical, requiring him to conceptualize wholeness where division existed. As the rift began to close, the residual chaos energy sought a new vessel, a new purpose. It flowed into the only compatible entity present, Goku himself. His consciousness expanded exponentially with each passing moment, encompassing perspectives and dimensions previously unimaginable. He perceived the multiverse as an intricate tapestry, each thread a timeline, each weave a dimensional boundary. He saw possibilities that had never been realized, realities that had collapsed, and potential futures branching into infinity. Most strikingly, he perceived the underlying patterns that governed everything, the subtle dance between order and chaos that maintained the cosmic equilibrium. When the final remnants of the rift sealed shut, the transformation completed itself. Where Son Goku had been, something new emerged, a being that retained his core essence but transcended his former limitations. The chaotic energy had not destroyed him but transformed him, recognizing in him a worthy vessel for powers long ungoverned. He drifted in the vacuum of space, reorienting himself to this new state of existence. His body appeared unchanged at first glance, the same spiky black hair, the same muscular physique, but subtle differences became apparent upon closer inspection. Faint patterns like cosmic circuitry traced beneath his skin, pulsing with multicolored energy that occasionally leaked from his eyes when he blinked. Most significantly, he felt the underlying fabric of reality responding to his mere thoughts. Space curved gently around him, time flowed at different rates within his immediate vicinity, and probability itself seemed to bend toward his unconscious desires. "What happened to me?" His voice sounded strange to his own ears, carrying harmonics that hadn't existed before. The question itself caused ripples through reality, manifesting as colorful distortions in the space around him. He extended his hand experimentally, watching with fascination as matter coalesced from nothing, forming shapes according to his idle thoughts. When his concentration wavered, the creations dissolved back into potential energy. "This is incredible," he whispered, causing nearby asteroids to transform momentarily into crystalline structures before returning to their original state. But dangerous. The enormity of what had occurred was still settling into his consciousness when he sensed a disturbance approaching, a focused point of energy moving through space with deliberate intent. Unlike the chaotic power now infused within him, this energy was structured, precise, and ancient. The space before him shimmered, reality parted. Like a curtain to reveal a doorway that hadn't existed moments before. Through this temporal aperture stepped a woman of breathtaking presence. Her appearance shifted subtly from moment to moment, sometimes youthful and vibrant. Other times mature and stately, occasionally ancient and wise, but always commanding and regal. Her hair flowed like liquid time itself, transitioning between lavender and silver depending on how the non-existent light struck it. Elegant robes of midnight blue adorned with constellation patterns enveloped her form, and circling her head was a diadem that resembled a Mobius strip crafted from pure starlight. Most striking were her eyes, pools of temporal energy that had witnessed the birth and death of countless universes. They fixed on Goku with an intensity that would have disintegrated lesser beings. "So," she said, her voice perfectly modulated and carrying the weight of eons, "you are the disturbance I sensed across all timelines." She circled him slowly, examining the changes with evident concern. "Do you comprehend what you have become, former mortal?" Goku turned to face her, instinctively recognizing her as an equal in cosmic stature if not in nature. "Not entirely. Everything's different now. I can feel everything. All possibilities at once." He gestured at the space around them, causing reality to ripple. "Who are you?" "I am Chronoa, Empress of time and guardian of the temporal axis." Her expression remained carefully neutral, though Goku sensed calculations occurring behind those ancient eyes. "And you have become something that old not exist in this cosmic cycle, a new chaos god, born rather than appointed, created through accident rather than cosmic design." "Chaos god," Goku repeated, looking down at his hands as energy crackled between his fingers. "I was just trying to stop Nexus from destroying everything." Nexus was a boundary enforcer, maintaining the separation between cosmic domains. Chronoa's tone carried a hint of accusation. "By absorbing its function and the primordial chaos it was containing, you've disrupted an equilibrium that has existed since this universe's inception." Goku frowned, his new ND cosmic awareness allowing him to grasp concepts that would have been incomprehensible to him before. The boundaries were already weakening. Nexus talked about something called the cosmic convergence. This information caused a subtle shift in Chronoa's demeanor, her eyes narrowing fractionally. "The convergence isn't due for another cosmic cycle." If Nexus was responding to early signs. She fell silent, recalculating possibilities. "This changes matters considerably." She extended her hand, and a staff materialized, an elegant rod of ivory material inlaid with clockwork mechanisms that moved with impossible complexity. "I must verify your claim. With your permission, I will examine the temporal echo of your confrontation." "My permission?" Goku asked, surprised by the formality. Quote, "You are no longer a being I can command or control," Chronoa explained with the faintest hint of frustration. "Chaos gods answer to no authority but their own nature. Even I must respect the cosmic protocols when dealing with fundamental forces personified." Goku nodded, intrigued by this development. "Go ahead. I have nothing to hide." Chronoa tapped her staff gently against the fabric of space, creating ripples that expanded outward. The area around them transformed, replaying the recent battle from multiple perspectives simultaneously. They observed as past Goku fought Nexus, redirected the chaotic energy, and underwent his transformation. As the temporal replay concluded, Chronoa's expression had transformed from suspicious to deeply troubled. Nexus wasn't maintaining boundaries, it was deliberately weakening them. This was not sanctioned action. She turned to Goku, reassessing him entirely. "You may have inadvertently prevented a premature convergence. Is that good or bad?" Goku asked, his straightforward nature persisting despite his cosmic ascension. "That depends entirely on your intentions now," Chronoa replied, studying him with renewed interest. "A chaos god with no training, no understanding of cosmic responsibility, and no allegiance to established order poses an existential threat to structured reality." She paused, then added reluctantly, "However, your intervention, while disruptive, appears to have prevented a greater calamity." Goku absorbed this information, feeling the weight of his new existence settling upon him. "I never asked for these powers. But I've always believed that strength comes with responsibility." His expression turned serious, reminiscent of his mortal determination. "I need to understand what I've become so I don't accidentally damage things." Chronoa appeared genuinely surprised by this response. Most beings who ascend to godhood immediately seek to reshape reality according to their desires. Your restraint is unusual. I've been fighting to protect people my whole life, Goku replied simply. That doesn't change just because I've become something different. A silence fell between them as Chronoa reassessed her approach. Finally, she made a decision that sent ripples through the fabric of time itself. The Cosmic Council must be informed of these developments, but first, you require orientation. I will personally guide your transition to prevent further disruptions. That sounds great. Goku's enthusiasm broke through his cosmic persona, causing nearby space to briefly transform into flowering patterns before settling back to normal. Oops, still getting used to that. The faintest trace of amusement crossed Chronoa's face before she suppressed it. Indeed. Control will be our first priority. She gestured with her staff, creating a doorway of pure temporal energy. We will begin at my sanctum, where the chaotic emanations of your adjustment period will be contained. As they prepared to depart, a tremor passed through reality, subtle but distinct, like the first whisper of an approaching storm. Chronoa froze, her eyes narrowing as she analyzed the disturbance. What was that? Goku asked, having felt it reverberate through his newly heightened senses. A reaction to your ascension, Chronoa answered, though uncertainty colored her tone. The cosmos is adjusting to your presence. However, she hesitated, which seemed uncharacteristic for an entity of her stature. There was something else within that tremor. Something old and patient. Before Goku could inquire further, he gestured for him to follow her through the temporal doorway. Come, we have much to discuss, and time, even for its Empress, is not infinitely malleable. In the endless void between realities, where not even darkness existed because light had never been conceived, something stirred. It had no form, for form required definition against other things, and here there was nothing against which to be defined. It had no name, for names were constructs of beings who needed to distinguish one thing from another, and here it was the only thing. Yet if it could have been perceived by mortal senses, it might have resembled an absence more profound than mere emptiness, a negation of possibility itself. And had its thoughts been translatable to language, they might have formed a simple observation. The chaos has found a new vessel. Unexpected, interesting, a variable not accounted for in previous cycles. This entity, this void, had existed since before the concept of existence, watching patiently as realities formed, flourished, and faded. It remembered when time was young and chaotic, before she crowned herself Empress and imposed her rigid order. It remembered countless chaos gods who had risen and fallen, each believing themselves unique, each ultimately proving transient. But this one is different. Born of mortal origin yet containing unlimited potential. A paradox that should not be possible. The disturbance created by Goku's ascension had rippled even into this non-place, creating the first opportunity in eons for the void to extend its awareness back into the structured multiverse. Through this momentary connection, it caught glimpses of Chronoa's concern, of Goku's transformation, of the weakening boundaries between cosmic domains. The convergence approaches prematurely. The Time Empress suspects but does not know. The new Chaos God understands nothing of his true significance. Had it possessed a mouth, it might have smiled. Perfect. The Chronos Sanctum existed simultaneously at every point in history while residing in none of them. Its crystalline architecture defied conventional geometry, with corridors that looped back on them. Selves through different eras and chambers that contained entire epochs compressed into spaces no larger than ordinary rooms. Chronoa guided Goku through the main causality hall, where waterfalls of temporal energy flowed upward into infinity and countless chronometers measured time across multiple dimensions. Ghostly images flickered along the walls, moments from history, potential futures, alternate timelines that had never fully materialized. This is incredible, Goku marveled, his enhanced perception allowing him to appreciate the full complexity of the sanctum. It's like everything is happening at once, but also in sequence. Quote, an apt observation, Chronoa acknowledged. Time is both linear and simultaneous, depending on one's perspective. My sanctum reflects this duality. They asked through an archway composed of interlocking clock hands, entering a circular chamber dominated by a massive three-dimensional model of the multiverse. Countless galaxies swirled within it, CTED by shimmering threads of chronological continuity. Chronoa gestured, and a section of the model expanded, highlighting a particular universe. This is your native reality, Universe 7 in the current cosmic catalog. Your transformation has created ripples throughout its timeline. She pointed to several points where the temporal threads frayed and tangled. These disruptions are minor now but will escalate as your power grows. Goku frowned, watching the distortions with concern. I don't want to damage anything. How do I control it? That is our immediate challenge. Chronoa waved her hand, dismissing the model. Chaos, by its nature, resists control. However, it can be channeled, directed toward constructive rather than destructive manifestations. She guided him to a raised dais in the center of the chamber. Stand here. This is a null time space where your actions will have no consequences beyond this room. Goku stepped onto the platform, immediately feeling the difference. As his chaotic emanations were contained within the designated area. Chronoa circled him, her staff leaving trails of glowing temporal script in the air. The power you've absorbed is not merely energy but potential itself, the raw possibility from which reality is constantly recreated, she explained. Every thought, every emotion now carries the capacity to reshape your surroundings. You must learn to differentiate between idle thoughts and actual intentions. That's going to be tough, Goku admitted. I've never been great at sitting still or keeping my mind empty. A flash of genuine amusement crossed Chronoa's face. Indeed, your reputation preceded you even before this transformation. She completed the circle of temporal script. Perhaps we should approach this differently. Rather than suppressing your nature, let us work with it. Chaos channeled through discipline creates controlled transformation rather than random destruction. She instructed him through a series of exercises, teaching him to visualize his chaotic energy as a tangible force that could be shaped and directed. Hours passed as Goku learned to manifest his power with increasing precision, creating complex structures from raw possibility before dissolving them back into potential. Your progress is remarkable, Chronoa noted, observing as Goku shaped a perfect replica of Earth from memory, complete with miniature weather systems and tectonic movement. Most newly ascended entities require decades to achieve such control. Goku shrugged, his characteristic humility unchanged by godhood. I've spent my whole life learning to control energy. The principles aren't that different, just the scale and what happens when I mess up. As they continued training, Goku became increasingly aware of Chronoa's complex nature. Despite her formal demeanor, he sensed depths of emotion carefully contained beneath her composed exterior. Occasionally, when she thought he wasn't looking, her expression revealed flashes of something beyond professional interest, perhaps curiosity, perhaps concern, perhaps something else entirely. You're different than I expected, he commented during a brief rest period. Most gods of Met are either completely detached or way too full of themselves. You actually seem to care about maintaining balance, not just enforcing rules. Chronoa paused, appearing momentarily surprised by the observation. The preservation of temporal integrity is my function. Caring is incidental. I don't think so, Goku countered with his characteristic directness. You could have just tried to eliminate me when you sensed the disruption. Instead, you're teaching me, helping me adjust. That goes beyond function. The Time Empress turned away, adjusting settings on a temporal interface to hide her reaction. Perhaps after eons of existence, one develops perspectives beyond mere duty. She faced him again, her composure restored. Or perhaps I simply recognize that attempting to destroy a chaos god would create far greater disruptions than teaching one to coexist with established order. Goku grinned, seeing through her deflection. Whatever you say, but I appreciate it either way. Before she could respond, an alarm resonated throughout the sanctum, a harmonious yet urgent series of tones that caused the temporal flows to fluctuate. Chronoa's expression transformed instantly from measured patience to sharp focus. The council has convened an emergency session. She waved her hand, dissolving the training environment. They've sensed your emergence and demand immediate accounting. Who exactly is this council? Goku asked as they moved swiftly through the sanctum. The Cosmic Council consists of entities that govern fundamental aspects of existence, space, matter, energy, life, death, and others, Chronoa explained. I hold the seat of time. Until recently, the seat of chaos has been vacant following the dissolution of the previous occupant. What happened to them? A shadow passed across Chronoa's features. Zaxxer allowed himself to become corrupted by his own nature, creating cascading devastation across multiple reality systems. The combined council was forced to intervene. It was unpleasant. Her tone suggested this was a significant understatement. Goku absorbed this information with appropriate gravity, understanding that his position carried precedents he would need to overcome. They arrived at an enormous doorway crafted from material that seemed both ancient and unborn simultaneously. Symbols representing fundamental cosmic forces were etched into its surface. Glowing with inner light, the council chamber exists at the nexus point of all dimensions, Chronoa said, her formal demeanor fully restored. Speak only when addressed directly. Do not allow your chaotic nature free expression regardless of provocation. And above all, make no promises or agreements without fully understanding their implications. Got it. Best behavior. Goku straightened, instinctively adjusting his posture to something more dignified than his usual relaxed stance. Despite the seriousness of the situation, an unmistakable gleam of excitement shone in his eyes, the familiar spark that had always appeared when facing new challenges. Chronoa noticed this and almost smiled before catching herself. Your enthusiasm for confronting unknown is either admirable or concerning. I haven't decided which. Why not both? Goku suggested with a disarming grin. This time, she did allow herself a brief smile. Indeed, why not both? He tapped her staff against the massive doors, which dissolved into mist, revealing the chamber beyond. Come, Chaos God. Let us introduce you to your cosmic peers. The council chamber defied comprehension. It simultaneously appeared as a vast amphitheater under an open celestial sky, an intimate roundtable discussion in a warmly lit study, and an endless void where concepts rather than entities communed directly. These contradictory perceptions existed simultaneously, allowing each participant to experience the gathering in a form comprehensible to their nature. To Goku, it made is a circular platform suspended amidst swirling galaxies, with 8 ornate thrones arranged in a perfect circle. Each throne was distinct, representing the domain of its occupant. 7 were occupied by beings of such fundamental power that looking directly at them was like trying to comprehend infinity, possible in theory but overwhelming in practice. The council recognizes Chronoa, Empress of Time, announced a harmonious voice that seemed to originate from everywhere at once. You bring before us an anomaly, an unscheduled manifestation of chaotic potential in mortal vessel. Chronoa stepped forward, her movements precise and formal. Esteemed colleagues, I present Son Goku, formerly immortal of Universe 7, now ascended through unprecedented circumstances to embody the cosmic principle of chaos. A murmur of reaction passed through the assembly, not sound in the conventional sense, but a ripple of concept exchange that Goku perceived as disapproval tinged with curiosity. Gur, composed entirely of geometric perfection, leaned forward on a throne of mathematical equations. When it spoke, its voice was structured in perfect symmetry. This disrupts the established progression. Chaotic manifestation was not scheduled for reincorporation until the next cosmic iteration. Explain this deviation. The circumstances were exceptional. Logos, Chronoa replied, addressing entity that appeared to represent order. The boundary enforcer nexus was compromised, attempting to trigger premature convergence. This mortal's intervention, while unplanned, prevented catastrophic boundary collapse. Another council member shifted, a being composed of constantly dividing and recombining cellular structures seated upon a throne of intertwined DNA helixes. Fascinating adaptation. Evolutionary leap beyond predicted parameters. The vessel appears stable despite chaotic incorporation. Thank you, Vitalia, Chronoa acknowledged before turning to address a shadow-shrouded fig. Whose features remained indiscernible. Mortalis, your jurisdiction over mortality transitions has been most directly affected. What say you to this development? The shadowy entity regarded Goku with what felt like ancient, weary eyes. He has transcended my domain entirely, neither living nor dead but existing in perpetual potential. The question is not one of transition but of containment. Can chaos be truly constrained within self-awareness, or will entropy eventually overcome identity? Before Chronoa could respond, a being composed of pure energy in constant transformative flux spoke. From a throne that cycled through various energy states. The real question is pragmatic rather than philosophical. What is to be done with this unscheduled chaos manifestation? Previous experience suggest catastrophic outcomes when chaotic potential operates without established limitations. Goku had remained silent as instructed, but at this, he stepped forward. "If I may speak," he asked, looking to Chronoa for permission. After a moment's hesitation, she nodded. The council recognizes the new chaos manifestation. Goku addressed the assembled cosmic entities directly, his manner respectful but unintimidated. "I understand your concerns. From what I've learned, the previous chaos god caused a lot of damage. But I'm not him. Before this transformation, I spent my life protecting my universe, not destroying it. That hasn't changed." He gestured to the chaotic energy now visible beneath his skin. "These powers are new to me, but the responsibility isn't. I've always believed that strength exists to protect, not dominate. I'm still learning to control these abilities, but with Chronoa's guidance, I'm making progress." The council members exchanged impressions in that strange, conceptual communication. Finally, Logos spoke again. "Noble sentiments, but sentiment is ephemeral. Chaos corrupts by nature, dissolving structure, purpose, and identity over time. What guarantee can you offer that you will maintain these principles through eternity?" "No guarantee," Goku admitted honestly. "Just my word and my actions. Where I come from, that's all anyone can really offer." This straightforward answer created another ripple of reaction among the council. A being composed of spatial dimensions that folded through themselves spoke next, its voice echoing with infinite distance. "The anomaly speaks with unusual clarity for chaotic manifestation. Chronoa, you have observed this entity directly. What is your assessment?" All attention turned to the Time Empress, whose street ood perfectly poised between Goku and the council. Goku realized that her response would likely determine his fate, whether he would be accepted or deemed too dangerous to exist. "My assessment is Son Goku represents an unprecedented opportunity," Chronoa stated with measured precision. Unlike previous chaotic manifestations born from cosmic necessity, his mortal origin provides a unique perspective. He comprehends consequences, values preservation, and demonstrates extraordinary adaptability. She turned slightly, meeting Goku's eyes briefly before continuing. "Furthermore, my temporal analysis indicates that his ascension, while unscheduled, may in fact be responsive to emerging threats that conventional cosmic structure is ill-equipped to address. The premature convergence symptom suggest external interference with established cosmic architecture." "External interference?" The energy being's fluctuations intensified. "You speak of impossibilities, Time Empress. Nothing exists external to the established cosmic architecture. Nothing that we have perceived," Chronoa countered carefully. "Yet the evidence suggests otherwise. Nexus's compromised behavior cannot be explained through internal systemic failure." A tense silence followed this statement as the council processed its implications. Finally, the shadowy entity Mortalis spoke again. "If external threat exists, conventional response would prove inadequate. Chaotic potential might indeed be necessary counter-agent." "Precisely," Chronoa agreed. "I propose provisional recognition of Son Goku as legitimate chaos manifestation. With appropriate monitoring protocols, I personally will oversee his integration and training." The council's attention shifted collectively to Goku, studying him with an intensity. Why that would have disintegrated lesser beings. He stood firm under their scrutiny, allowing them to sense his genuine intentions. After what seemed like an eternity, Logos spoke for the council. "Visional recognition is granted under strict conditions. The Time Empress assumes full responsibility for the chaos manifestation's actions. Any destructive expression beyond acceptable parameters will result in immediate containment measures." "I accept these terms," Chronoa responded formally. "As do I," Goku added, understanding the significance of the moment. The energy being flickered in what might have been amusement. "The Chaos God accepts limitations. Truly unprecedented. The council is adjourned," Logos declared. "May order prevail through change." As the council members began to fade from the chamber, returning to their respective domains, Mortalis lingered momentarily. The shadowy entity's attention fixed on Goku with unsettling focus. Curious, it murmured in a voice like the final whisper of dying stars. I sense echoes of previous endings within you, yet also the possibility of new beginnings. Perhaps chaos truly can be constructive rather than merely entropic. With that cryptic observation, Mortalis dissolved into the background of reality, leaving only Goku and Chronoa in the now empty chamber. That went better than expected, Chronoa admitted, her formal demeanor relaxing slightly. Goku released a breath he hadn't realized he was holding, causing several nearby galaxies in the illusory background to briefly rearrange themselves before settling back. They're an intense bunch, not big on small talk, are they? Cosmic fundamental forces rarely engage in pleasantries, Chronoa replied with dry humor. You made quite an impression. The Council Arlie grants provisional acceptance so quickly, particularly for chaotic manifestations. What happens now? Goku asked as the council chamber began to dissolve around them, returning them to the re-comprehensible environment of the Chronos Sanctum. Chronoa considered the question carefully before answering. Now we begin your true orientation. You must establish your domain, the Chaos Nexus, learn to channel your inherent nature toward constructive manifestation rather than random disruption. My own domain. Goku's expression brightened with interest. You mean like your sanctum here? Similar in concept though fundamentally different in expression. Chronoa gestured, and a temporal display materialized, showing various dimensional planes and their interconnections. Time flows linearly even when perceived non-linearly. Chaos, however, exists as potential expressed through transformation. Your domain will reflect this nature, a place of constant change governed by your consciousness. Goku considered this fascination evident in his expression. So I get to create my own reality. That's, honestly, a little overwhelming. It is a significant responsibility, Chronoa acknowledged. But one I believe you are uniquely suited to handle, given your history. As they walked through the crystalline corridors of the sanctum, Goku noticed subtle changes in Chronoa's demeanor. A gradual softening of her formal reserve, revealing glimpses of the person beneath the cosmic title. He found himself increasingly intrigued by the Time Empress, who had shown him unexpected support despite the disruption his emergence had caused to her carefully maintained order. Why did you defend me to the council? He asked suddenly. You could have recommended containment. It would have been the safer option for you. Chronoa paused, considering her answer carefully. The safer option isn't always the correct one. She turned to face him directly, her ancient eyes studying him with intensity. Throughout my long existence, I have observed countless patterns repeating across time. Occasionally, however, anomalies appear, deviations that create new possibilities rather than merely recycling old ones. She gestured toward him. You are such an anomaly. Your chaotic nature, tempered by compassion and mortal experience, represents something new in the cosmic equation. New variables create new potential outcomes. And you believe those outcomes could be positive. I believe they could be necessary. Her expression grew distant, as though seeing across vast temporal distances. The cosmos is changing, Goku. Established patterns are breaking down at an accelerating rate. The premature convergence symptoms are merely the most visible manifestation of a deeper instability. You think something's coming, Goku observed, his newfound cosmic awareness allowing him to read between the lines. Something the council either doesn't see or doesn't want to acknowledge. Chronoa's eyes refocused on him. A glimmer of surprise and approval in their depths. Your perceptiveness increases with your control. Yes, I sense disturbances in the temporal currents, echoes of Someth. Ancient stirring beyond conventional reality. The rigid structures that have governed cosmic order for eons may be insufficient to address what approaches. And chaos might be the answer. Goku asked. Not chaos alone, Chronoa corrected. But chaos working in concert with established forces, adaptation rather than mere preservation. It is a theory, nothing more, but one I believe warrants exploration. Their conversation paused as they reached a particular junction in the sanctum where multiple temporal streams intersected. Chronoa gestured, and the streams parted to reveal a doorway unlike any other in the structure, raw. Unformed potential swirling in a vortex of creative energy. This will lead to the foundation of your domain, she explained. Currently, it exists only as possibility. Your consciousness will give it form, your nature will determine its character. Goku approached the portal with a mixture of excitement and trepidation. Will you come with me? I could use your guidance for this part. Chronoa hesitated, an internal conflict briefly visible in her expression. The creation of a domain is intensely personal. My presence could inadvertently influence its formation. I don't mind, Goku replied with characteristic openness. Besides, if we're going to work together to face whatever's coming, shouldn't we start by creating something together? The Time Empress considered his logic, then nodded slowly. An unorthodox approach, but perhaps fitting for an unorthodox Chaos God. A faint smile touched her lips. Very well, I will accompany you through the initial formation process. As they prepared to step through the portal together, an urgent chime resonated through the sanctum. Chronoa's expression sharpened as she waved her hand, conjuring a temporal viewer that displayed a sector of space near the boundary of Universe 7. A significant disturbance, she murmured, her focus intense. Reality fractures forming along the outer quadrant. Goku examined the viewer, recognizing the symptoms from his battle with Nexus. That looks like the same kind of damage the rift was causing. Could it be another boundary enforcer? Unlikely. The Council would have informed me of any sanctioned enforcer activity. Chronoa expanded the view, revealing clusters of small tears in the fabric of reality. These appear deliberate rather than accident. Precise incisions rather than chaotic ruptures. A shadow passed over her features as she reached a troubling conclusion. Someone is testing the boundaries, probing for weaknesses. This is no natural phenomenon. Goku straightened, his warrior instincts immediately alert. Then we should investigate. If someone's threatening reality, that's exactly what I'm supposed to prevent, right? Noah looked at him with an unreadable expression before nodding decisively. Yes. This would be an appropriate first exercise of your new responsibilities. She gestured toward the unformed domain portal. Your Chaos Nexus will have to wait. Defending established reality takes precedence. With another motion of her staff, she transformed the swirling potential energy into a directed portal leading to the disturbance location. We will travel together. Be prepared for anything. Whoever is creating these fractures possesses significant power and sophistication. Goku nodded, his expression shifting to the focused determination that had characterized him throughout his mortal life. I'm ready. As they stepped through the portal together, neither noticed the subtle distortion that rippled the temporal streams behind them, a momentary flicker that suggested something was observing their departure with great interest. In the endless void between realities, the patient entity that had stirred earlier now focused its attention more precisely. Its non-presence expanded slightly, allowing it greater perception of events unfolding within structured existence. The opening move is made. The Time Empress suspects but does not know. The Chaos God follows, eager to prove his worth. Had it possessed a form, it might have settled into a posture of anticipation. The game begins anew, with new pieces on the board. How fascinating. The sector of space they emerged into bore visible wounds, reality itself fraying at the edges like torn fabric. Stars in the vicinity flicker. Erratically as fundamental constants fluctuated, and the normally invisible barriers between dimensions had become faintly visible as iridescent membranes stretching across the void. Goku immediately sensed the wrongness permeating the area. Something's definitely interfering with how things are supposed to work here. It feels deliberate. Chronoa moved forward, her staff extended to analyze the distortions. These fractures are precisely positioned at junction points between dimensional layers. Whoever created them possesses intimate knowledge of cosmic architecture. As they investigated further, Goku noticed something unusual about the pattern of the fractures. They're forming some kind of shape. He gestured to the wider arrangement. It's like they're creating a specific design across space. Chronoa expanded her perception, then inhaled sharply. A summoning circuit. They're attempting to create a gateway between established reality and something outside it. Outside reality? Goku frowned. I thought you said nothing exists outside the cosmic structure. Nothing that should have access to our reality, Chronoa clarified, her expression grave. There are spaces between the established multiverse, voids where different rules apply, where entities that predate our cosmic cycle still linger. She moved with sudden urgency, her staff tracing counter patterns across the fractures. We must disrupt this circuit before it activates. The boundaries are already weakened from your emergence. A deliberate breach could cause cascading collapse. Goku joined her efforts, instinctively understanding how to apply his chaotic energy to seal the tiers. Where Chronoa's temporal power created structure and reinforcement, his chaotic influence introduced unpredictable ity that disrupted the precise mathematical pattern of the summoning circuit. They had sealed nearly half the fractures when a new presence materialized, a humanoid figure composed of what appeared to be living shadow. With eyes that contained neither pupils nor irises but rather swirling vortices of absolute nothingness. Impressive response time, the figure observed, its voice resonating oddly, as though reaching them from an impossible distance. The Time Empress herself, accompanied by the new chaos manifestation. I am honored by such distinguished interference. Chronoa positioned herself between the entity and Goku. Her staff raised defensively. Identify yourself, boundary violator. By whose authority do you create unauthorized dimensional apertures? The shadow figure made a gesture resembling a bow. Though the movement contained subtle wrongness, angles that shouldn't be possible, motion that seemed to precede its cause rather than follow it. I am merely a herald, Time Empress. A messenger sent to prepare the way. It turned its empty eyes toward Goku. Particularly now that variables have changed. The emergence of unscheduled chaos creates new possibilities that must be examined. Goku stepped forward, unintimidated. Prepare the way for what exactly? The herald's form rippled with what might have been amusement. For revelation, Chaos God. For the truth that why? Our cosmic masters have concealed. That this reality is not the first, nor will it be the last. That cycles end and begin anew, with memories wiped clean and players repositioned on the board. Enough, Chronoa commanded, her voice carrying the weight of temporal authority. You will cease this unauthorized activity and return to your origin point immediately. I think not, Time Empress. The herald expanded, its shadowy form encompassing more space. My task is nearly complete, and your presence here was anticipated. Indeed, it was counted upon. With sudden clarity, Goku realized the trap. Chronoa, it wanted us here. The fractures were bait. Even as he spoke, the remaining unsealed fractures pulsed with dark energy, connecting to form a completed circuit despite the portions they had disrupted. The herald's form began to dissolve, spreading across the circuit like ink through water. Convergence approaches earlier than scheduled, it intoned as its consciousness dispersed. The Void Lord sends his regards. Time Empress, he has not forgotten your rejection. The mention of a Void Lord caused visible distress in Chronoa's normally composed demeanor. She raised her staff, channeling immense temporal energy to disrupt the activating circuit. Goku, we must combine our powers. Focus your chaos energy through my temporal stream, create enough unpredictability to break the pattern. Goku didn't hesitate, stepping beside her and placing his hand on her staff. The contact created an immediate reaction, chaos and time energies intermingling in ways that should have been catastrophically incompatible but instead formed a synergistic harmony neither had anticipated. Chronoa's eyes widened in surprise as their combined power flowed through her staff, creating a beam of energy that was neither purely temporal nor purely chaotic but something new altogether, a force of directed transformation that targeted the summoning circuit with precision. The circuit shattered under their combined assault, its carefully calculated parameters overwhelmed by their unprecedented alliance. The fractures sealed themselves as reality reasserted its integrity, the dimensional boundaries becoming invisible once more. As the immediate threat dissipated, Goku and Chronoa remained connected through the staff, both experiencing an unexpected resonance between their opposing cosmic natures. For a brief moment, each perceived reality from the other's perspective, Goku feeling the structured flow of time through all its intricate connections, Chronoa experiencing the liberating potential of unlimited possibility. They separated simultaneously, both slightly disoriented by the exchange. Goku recovered first, his adaptive nature quickly integrating the new perspective. That was amazing, he said, looking at his hands as residual temporal energy faded from them. It felt like our powers were meant to work together, not against each other. Chronoa took longer to regain her composure. The experience of chaotic perception having disrupted her carefully maintained temporal viewpoint. Unprecedented, she murmured, studying Goku with new awareness. Chaos and time should be fundamentally opposed forces. Yet there was harmonic resonance rather than destructive interference. She turned away, addressing the larger issue to regain her emotional equilibrium. More concert. Ning is the herald's message and its master. If what I suspect is true, we face a threat far greater than unauthorized boundary violations. You recognize the name it mentioned, Goku observed. The Void Lord. Who is he, and what did the herald mean about your rejection? Chronoa's expression became carefully neutral, though Goku sensed the effort this control required. Ancient history from a previous cosmic cycle. Not relevant to our current situation. Her deflection was obvious, but Goku chose not to press for now. Instead, he focused on the practical question, so what do we do next? We inform the council of this development, Chronoa stated, already creating a temporal portal back to her sanctum. And we accelerate your training. If the void seeks access to our reality, we WILL need every resource available to prevent catastrophe. As they prepared to depart, Goku glanced back at the now restored sector of space. You know, for my first day as a Chaos God, this has been pretty eventful. The comment drew a small, genuine smile from Chronoa, a brief crack in her composed facade. Indeed, and I suspect this is merely the beginning. Neither noticed the infinitesimal speck of shadow that remained behind. A tiny fragment of the herald that had escaped destruction. It drifted through the restored reality, gathering data, observing the unique interaction between chaos and time with great interest. Eventually, this fragment would return to the space between realities, carrying with it crucial information about an unexpected development that not even the Void Lord had anticipated. The potential compatibility between two cosmic forces long believed to be eternally opposed. In the game that was unfolding across reality itself, a new possibility had emerged. An inner existence built upon chaos and time. Possibility was perhaps the most powerful force of all. Chapter 1 End Chapter 2, Temporal Friction. Nothing existed yet everything was possible. Goku floated, in a state of pure potential. Not darkness, for darkness required the concept of light to define it, but rather an absence of definition itself. This was the foundation of the Chaos Nexus, the domain that would become his cosmic home and the manifestation of his newfound nature. Focus on your essence, Chronoa's voice guided him, though she remained outside the formative space. What defines you beyond your mortal identity? What concepts resonate with your core being? Goku closed his eyes, though the gesture was largely symbolic in this pre-reality. What defined him? Combat came first to Mind, the disciplined dance of martial arts that had shaped his existence since childhood. Then growth, the constant striving to surpass limitations that had driven him from ordinary Saiyan to something transcendent. And beneath it all, a bedrock of protection, the desire to safeguard others that gave purpose to his strength. As these concepts crystallized in his consciousness, the void around him began to respond. First came motion, currents of energy swirling in patterns reminiscent of ki flows during battle. Then structure emerged, floating islands of solid matter forming and reforming in constant transformation. Colors bloomed in impossible combinations as light itself came into being, operating under laws that allowed for simultaneous contradiction and harmony. That's it, Chronoa encouraged. Let your nature express itself organically. Don't force a structure. Chaos resists rigid definition. The nascent domain expanded exponentially with each moment of clarity. Goku envisioned a place where challenge and growth were intrinsic, where environments transformed to test abilities, where gravity shifted unpredictably, where even the laws of physics themselves could be transcended through effort and ingenuity. Mountains rose and reshaped themselves in fluid motion. Oceans of energy formed, their surfaces reflecting not just light but possibility itself. The sky, if such a conventio null term applied, became a kaleidoscopic display of overlapping realities, each containing glimpses of alternate versions of familiar places. Remarkable, Chronoa murmured, her voice closer now as she cautiously entered the forming domain. Most chaos realms manifest as abstract nightmare landscapes or random destruction. This has purpose within its transformation. Goku opened his eyes, taken in his creation with wonder and satisfaction. The Chaos Nexus had taken form as a world in perpetual transformation, yet the changes followed patterns that reflected his nature, challenge leading to growth leading to new challenges. Nothing remained static, yet nothing changed without meaning. It feels right, he said simply, landing on a floating island of crystal that hummed with energy. Lick. It's always been waiting for me to find it. Chronoa materialized fully beside him, her temporal aura creating a small bubble of stability amidst the constant flux. She observed the realm with analytical interest, occasionally reaching out to touch transforming elements with her staff. The resonance is unusually harmonious, she noted. Your mortal perspective has created something unique, Cha-os with intention rather than mere entropy. She turned to him, her expression showing genuine approval. You continue to defy conventional expectations, Son Goku. He grinned, scratching the back of his head in a gesture that remained from his mortal days. I just made what felt natural. A place where I can train and grow stronger, but also where others could visit without getting hurt if they're careful. This consideration for visitors surprised Chronoa. Most cosmic entities design their domains specifically to exclude others. Privacy and protection are typically paramount concerns. That sounds lonely, Goku replied, his straightforward perspective cutting through cosmic convention. What's the point of having all this if you can't share it with friends? Before Chronoa could respond, a ripple passed through the newly formed realm, subtle but unmistakable. Both entities tensed, immediately alert to the disturbance. What was that? Goku asked, scanning the shifting landscape. A temporal anomaly, Chronoa answered, her staff already extended to analyze the disruption. Your domain's formation is creating resonance patterns across neighboring realities. The effect was expected, but the magnitude. She frowned as data flowed through her awareness. This is stronger than anticipated. She waved her staff, conjuring a complex display of intersecting timelines. Several glowed with warning indicators, showing stress patterns at their connection points. The chaotic energy of your domain is leaking into established timelines, creating probability fluctuations. If left unchecked, these could cascade into significant historical alterations. Goku's expression grew serious as he recognized the implications. Can we fix it? I can establish temporal buffers at the critical junctions, Chronoa replied. Already beginning the process. But this is merely treating symptoms rather than addressing the cause. Your domain's boundaries need refinement, separation protocols that allow it to exist alongside ordered realities without disrupting them. She worked efficiently, her movements precise as she manipulated time flows with the expertise of countless eons. Goku watched, absorbing the techniques through observation, his enhanced perception allowing him to grasp concepts that would have been incomprehensible to his mortal self. Let me try, he said after several minutes, stepping forward with newfound confidence. Chronoa hesitated, clearly reluctant to relinquish control over such a delicate procedure. Temporal manipulation requires precision and experience. A miscalculation could. I'm not going to use temporal manipulation, Goku interrupted gently. I'll approach it from the chaos side. Maybe instead of forcing order onto chaos, we can make How's respect order's boundaries willingly. His unorthodox suggestion gave Chrono a pause. After a moment's consideration, she stepped back. Proceed, but I will intervene if necessary. Goku nodded, then closed his eyes, connecting deeply with the essence of his domain. Rather than imposing boundaries through force or limitation, he communicated with the chaotic energy itself, impressing upon it the concept of cosmic harmony. The beauty of separate domains existing in complementary relationships rather than disruptive interference. The response was immediate and surprising. The chaotic energy, IEs didn't resist or fight against the suggestion, instead, they adapted with enthusiastic creativity. The boundaries between the chaos nexus and neighboring realities transformed from rigid barriers into permeable membranes that allowed energy exchange while preventing disruptive overflow. Chronoa observed the process with astonishment, her temporal senses confirming that the anomalies were resolving themselves without direct intervention. Extraordinary, she murmured. You're not suppressing chaos but redirecting its inherent creativity toward constructive interaction. Goku opened his eyes, a satisfied smile spreading across his face. It just needed the right suggestion. Chaos doesn't have to be destructive, it's really about finding new possibilities, including new ways to coexist. The Time Empress studied him with newfound appreciation, reassessing her assumptions about chaotic forces. You may be pioneering an entirely new approach to cosmic domain management. The implications are significant. Their moment of mutual understanding was interrupted by another disturbance, not a temporal anomaly this time, but a direct intrusion. An alarm chimed from Chronoa's staff as a breach formed at the outer boundary of the Chaos Nexus, something forcing its way through from external space. Both entities moved immediately toward the disturbance, Chronoa's expression hardening. NTO battle readiness while Goku's chaotic energy coalesced around his hands in preparation for conflict. They arrived at the breach point just as it completed, a tear in reality that pulsed with unstable energy. Through this ragged opening tumbled a figure, collapsing onto the crystalline surface of the island. Female in form, her body appeared composed of shadow-given solidity, with occasional glimpses of starlight visible through her semi-transparent skin. Wounds marred her form, not physical injuries but disruptions in her very essence that leaked dark energy. "Help!" she gasped, her voice resonating strangely as though coming from multiple locations simultaneously. "They're coming, the Void Hunters. I can't." Her words faltered as consciousness failed her, her form flickering dangerously like a candle in strong wind. Without hesitation, Goku moved toward her, kneeling to assess her condition. "Stay back," Chronoa warned sharply. "We don't know what or who she is. This could be a trap." Goku glanced up, his expression resolute. "She's injured and asking for help. Trap or not, I can't just ignore that." Before Chronoa could object further, he gently placed his hands near the wounded entity. Chaotic energy flowed from his palms, but controlled and focused, seeking to stabilize rather than transform. The woman's shadowy form responded immediately, the leaking energy owing as her essence began to repair itself. "She's from the spaces between realities," Goku observed, his cosmic senses providing information his mortal self would never have perceived. "Not from the void itself, but the boundaries where different realities touch without fully connecting." Chronoa approached cautiously, her staff extended to scan the unconscious figure. "A void walker," she confirmed, her tone mixing concern with reluctant fascination. "Rare entities adapted to survive in interdimensional spaces. Typically neutral in cosmic conflicts, belonging to neither order nor chaos." "She mentioned Void Hunters," Goku said, continuing his healing efforts. "What are those?" A shadow passed over Chronoa's features. "Servants of the Void Lord. They pursue and eliminate anything that escapes the spaces between realities, preventing knowledge of the void from spreading to structured existence." As if summoned by their discussion, the tear in reality widened abruptly. 3 figures emerged, humanoid in basic shape but wrong in every detail. Their bodies appeared constructed from fragments of broken dimensions, with limbs that moved through impossible angles and faces composed of geometric shapes that rearranged themselves constantly. "Boundary violation detected," the lead figure announced in a voice that seemed to precede the actual movement of its non-mouth. "Unauthorized entity extraction in progress. Surrender the fugitive immediately." Goku stood, positioning himself between the hunters and the wounded woman. His casual demeanor vanished, replaced by the focused intensity that had made him legendary even as a mortal. "She came here seeking asylum. That makes her under my protection now." The Void Hunters paused, their fragmented forms shifting as they reassessed the situation. "Chaos manifestation detected. Temporal authority detected. This exceeds standard protocol parameters." The lead hunter's face reconfigured into a new arrangement of shapes. "New directive. Expanded retrieval authorization. All boundary violations to be corrected. All witnesses to be processed." They moved with sudden, unnatural speed, their forms blurring as they attacked from multiple angles simultaneously. Goku's response was immediate and fluid, his body seeming to occupy several positions at once as chaotic energy enhanced his already formidable combat abilities. First hunter found its dimensional blade passing through an afterimage as Goku appeared behind it, delivering a strike that disrupted its unstable form. The second and third converged from opposite directions, only to collide with each other as their target shifted reality around himself, altering their perception of his location. "Chronoa," Goku called out as he continued evading and counter-attacking, "can you seal the breach? We need to stop more from coming through." The Time Empress was already in motion, her staff weaving complex patterns that began to close the dimensional tier. "This will take concentration," she warned. "Their intrusion has damaged the natural boundary structure." Understanding the situation, Goku intensified his efforts, fully engaging the hunters to prevent them from interfering with Chrono's work. His fighting style had evolved beyond its mortal origins. Each movement now incorporated reality manipulation that allowed him to appear simultaneously predictable and impossible to predict. The lead hunter adapted quickest, its fragmented body reconfiguring to counter Goku's chaotic techniques. Chaos energy analysis complete, implementing countermeasures. Its next attack came from outside conventional space, striking from a dimension Goku hadn't been monitoring. The blow connected, sending him tumbling across the crystalline surface. He recovered immediately, a grin spreading across his face despite the situation. "Now we're getting somewhere," he said, excitement evident in his voice. "You guys are pretty good." The hunter paused, its geom trick face rearranging in what might have been confusion. Combat efficiency evaluation not relevant. Mission parameters require immediate completion. "About that," Goku replied, his form beginning to shimmer with intensifying chaotic energy. "You're in my domain now. And here, I make the rules." With that declaration, he released a controlled burst of chaotic potential into the very fabric of the Nexus. The realm responded instantly, the ground beneath the hunters transforming from solid crystal to fluid possibility that engulfed their lower bodies. Gravity inverted selectively, pulling the in multiple directions simultaneously while leaving Goku unaffected. Spatial parameters compromised, the lead hunter announced, its voice displaying the first hints of alarm. Reality coherence failing. Retreat protocol initiated. As the hunters struggled against the localized reality disruption, Chronoa completed her work, sealing the dimensional tear with a final gesture of her staff. "The breach is contained," she called. "But they've already transmitted our location to their master." Goku nodded, maintaining his control over the chaotic manifestations restraining the hunters. "Then, we need information before they self-destruct or whatever they're programmed to do." He approached the immobilized lead hunter, his expression serious but not hostile. "Why are you pursuing this woman? What threat does she pose to your master?" The hunter's fragmented face rearranged itself repeatedly, as though cycling through response protocols. Finally, it settled on an arrangement that approximated disdain. "Information restricted. Void Walker contamination must be contained. She carries forbidden knowledge." "What knowledge?" Goku pressed. "The truth of cycles. The memory of before. The nature of the Void Lord's return." Each phrase emerged in a different voice, suggesting the hunter was quoting rather than formulating its own response. Before Goku could ask another question, L3 hunters began to destabilize rapidly, their fragmented forms losing coherence. "Termination protocol activated," the lead hunter announced. "Witnesses noted. Retrieval team dispatched. The Void remembers." With those final words, the hunters collapsed into formless energy that dissipated into nothingness, leaving no trace of their existence. Goku released his control of the local reality, allowing the Nexus to resume its normal patterns of transformation. "Well, that was informative and completely unhelpful at the same time," he remarked, turning back toward the wounded Void Walker. Chronoa had knelt beside the unconscious woman, her staff hovering above the shadowy form as she conducted a more thorough analysis. Her expression was difficult to read, professional concern mixed with something that might have been personal wariness. "Her condition is stabilizing," she reported as Goku approached. "Your chaotic energy has accelerated her natural healing process. Quite impressive for an untrained application." "Will she recover completely?" Goku asked, genuine concern evident in his voice. "Eventually, yes. Void Walkers are remarkably resilient." Chronoa's tone remained clinically detached. "More concerning is what she represents. If the Void Lord is actively hunting those with forbidden knowledge, it confirms my suspicions about his intentions." Goku sat cross-legged beside the unconscious figure, his expression thoughtful. "Those hunters said something about the truth of cycles and the memory of before. What did they mean?" Chronoa's gaze became distant, as though seeing across vast temporal distances. "There are aspects of cosmic structure that even the Council does not fully acknowledge. Certain patterns that repeat across vast timescales. Possibilities of previous iterations that preceded our current reality." "You're saying the universe has been reset before?" Goku asked, his enhanced comprehension allowing him to follow concepts that would have been incomprehensible to his mortal self. The multiverse, yes, though, reset, is an oversimplification. Chronoa's voice lowered, taking on a quality Goku hadn't heard before, something almost like uncertainty. These are dangerous topics, Goku. The kind that the Council considers restricted knowledge. Because they're not true, or because they're dangerous if people know them? He asked directly. A faint, appreciative smile touched Chronoa's lips. Your perceptiveness continues to surprise me. Both, perhaps, or neither. The truth about cosmic cycles exists in a state of quantum UNC. Certainty. Its very nature changes depending on how it's observed and by whom. Their philosophical discussion was interrupted as the Void Walker stirred, her shadowy form becoming more solid as consciousness returned. Her eyes opened, revealing orbs that resembled miniature galaxies set against the darkness of deep space. She bolted upright with sudden panic, her form briefly dispersing into smoke before solidifying again. The hunters are gone, Goku assured her, his manner calm and non-threatening. You're safe now. You're in the Chaos Nexus, my domain. The woman's galaxy eyes widened as she processed this information, taking in Goku's aura of chaotic energy and Chronoa's temporal presence. The new Chaos God, she murmured, her voice still carrying that strange multi-location resonance. The rumors were true. I'm Goku, he replied with characteristic directness. And this is Chronoa, the Time Empress. The Void Walker immediately showed deference toward Chronoa, lowering her gaze. Time Empress, your reputation spans the dark spaces. I never expected to be in your presence. Chronoa acknowledged this with a regal nod, maintaining a formal distance. You have breached significant boundaries to reach us. Void Walker, your presence here requires explanation. The woman's form rippled with what might have been nervous energy. My name is Lyra. I was a Pathfinder for the Boundary Commission before. She hesitated, gathering her thoughts. Before I discovered something I wasn't meant to know. About the Void Lord, Goku prompted gently. Lyra's gaze snapped to him. Surprise evident in her stellar eyes. You know of him already. Then perhaps my journey wasn't necessary after all. We know the name and that he's sending servants into structured reality, Chronoa clarified. Little else has been confirmed. This information appeared to both relieve and concern Lyra. She drew herself up, her shadowy form becoming more defined as her strength returned. What I discovered goes against everything the Commission taught us about cosmic structure. The void isn't just empty space between realities, it's conscious, purposeful. And the Lord who rules it. She shuddered, stars within her eyes momentarily dimming. He's preparing for something called the Grand Convergence, a forced collapse of all structured reality back into the void. Why would he want to destroy everything? Goku asked, his straightforward nature cutting to the heart of the issue. Not destruction. Reversion, Lyra corrected. His belief is that structured reality is a temporary aberration. That the natural state of existence is potential rather than manifestation. My people were taught that the void simply exists as counterbalance to structure, but the truth is. She hesitated again, clearly uncomfortable with the enormity of what she was sharing. It's existed before structure. Chronoa completed the thought, her expression grave. And it will exist after. This is the cyclical nature the hunters referenced. Lyra nodded, relief evident that she didn't need to explain further. The Void Lord remembers previous cycles. He claims this iteration of reality has become contaminated with anomalies that threaten the proper transition to the next cycle. My understanding is limited, but he spoke of dangerous resonance patterns and unchecked transformation potential. Goku and Chronoa exchanged meaningful glances, both recognizing that these descriptions likely referred to their own unusual alliance, chaos and time working in harmony rather than opposition. You've taken extraordinary risks to bring this warning, Chronoa observed, her tone softening slightly. The spaces between realities are dangerous enough without void hunters in pursuit. I had no choice, Lyra replied, her form briefly flickering with what might have been remembered pain. When I learned the truth, I couldn't remain silent. The Commission either didn't know or was complicit. Either way, they wouldn't help. I thought if anyone could stop what's coming, it would be the cosmic authorities. The Council needs to hear this directly, Chronoa decided, rising to her feet. This confirms the external interference I suspected. Goku stood as well, offering a hand to Lyra. Can you travel, or do you need more time to recover? The Void Walker looked at his offered hand, with momentary confusion before accepting it, allowing him to help her stand. Her touch created an interesting effect. Where their bodies connected, both chaotic energy and void essence mingled, creating swirling patterns of creative potential emerging from nothingness. I can manage, she assured him, though she remained closer to him than strictly necessary after standing. My form is mostly stabilized now, thanks to your intervention. Chronoa observed this interaction with an unreadable expression, her posture subtly stiffening. We should proceed immediately to the sanctum, she stated, her tone reverting to formal precision. I will notify the council from there. With a gesture of her staff, she opened a temporal doorway leading back to her domain. Goku noticed the slight shift in her demeanor but attributed it to the seriousness of Lyra's information rather than any personal reaction. Will your realm be secure without you present? Lyra asked Goku as they prepared to depart. The Void Hunters will return with reinforcements once they report our location. The Chaos Nexus can take care of itself, Goku replied with confidence, glancing around at his creation with pride. It's designed to adapt to threats automatically. Besides, we won't be gone long, right, Chronoa? The Time Empress nodded curtly. Brevity is advisable given the circumstances. She gestured toward the open doorway. After you, Void Walker. Lyra moved toward the portal but paused beside Goku, lowering her voice. The Time Empress doesn't fully trust me. Understandable, given the circumstances, but potentially problematic. She's cautious by nature, Goku replied quietly. Give her time, she'll come around once she sees you're sincere. This exchange, though brief, did not escape Chronoa's notice. Her expression remained neutral, but the temporal energy surrounding her fluctuated subtly, betraying inner tension before she quickly stabilized it. The three beings passed through the temporal doorway, leaving the Chaos Nexus to continue its perpetual transformation in their absence. As the portal closed behind them, the realm adjusted its patterns, incorporating defensive mayas. Yours throughout its structure, preparation for the promised return of the Void Hunters. The journey through temporal space was disorienting for Lyra, her void-adapted nature struggling with the structured flow of linear time. Goku noticed her discomfort and instinctively extended his chaotic aura to create a buffer around her, moderating the temporal effects. Thanks, she murmured, the galaxy patterns in her eyes swirling gratefully. Time and void don't mix well under normal circumstances. Neither do time and chaos, theoretically, Goku replied with a grin. But I'm finding a lot of theories don't hold up in practice. Chronoa, leading the way through the temporal currents, glanced back at this exchange. Theoretical limitations exist for valid reasons. Chaos God, cosmic force, have natural affinities and oppositions that maintain overall equilibrium. But what if those limitations are just habits rather than laws? Goku suggested. Our energies work together pretty well against that herald and again with the Void Hunters. Exceptional circumstances forcing temporary alignment, Chronoa countered, though her tone lacked full conviction. Not natural harmony. RRA observed this interaction with evident interest, her perception shifting between them. The rumors in the dark spaces mentioned unusual resonance patterns between new chaos and established time. I didn't fully understand the significance until now. Before either could respond to this observation, they arrived at the Chronos Sanctum, emerging into the main causality hall with its upward flowing temporal waterfalls and countless chronometers. Lyra immediately tensed, the highly structured environment clearly uncomfortable for her void-adapted nature. Goku noticed her discomfort immediately. Is something wrong? So much definition, she explained, her form slightly fuzzy at the edges as though struggling to maintain coherence. The sanctum exists at all points in time simultaneo. While remaining anchored to specific coordinates. For a being adapted to the fluid non-spaces, it's like trying to breathe underwater. Chronoa observed this reaction with analytical interest. Quote, the sanctum represents perfect temporal harmony, the antithesis of both chaos and void. Your discomfort is expected but should not be harmful with limited exposure. Despite this clinical assessment, she made a subtle gesture with her staff, adjusting the temporal flows in their immediate vicinity to create a small pocket of reduced definition. Lyra's form immediately stabilized, her stellar eyes widening in surprise at the accommodation. Thank you, Time Empress, she said with genuine gratitude. Chronoa acknowledged this with a nod that somehow managed to be both gracious and distant. Follow me. We'll use the council chamber anteroom for debriefing before formal presentation. As they proceeded through the crystalline corridors, Goku noticed subtle changes in the sanctum since his last visit. Temporal displays showed increased activity across multiple timelines, with warning indicators flashing at various junctures. Staff members, beings of pure temporal energy given humanoid form, moved with greater urgency than before. Things seem busier than last time, he commented, gesturing toward a particularly active monitoring station where several temporal entities were working frantically to stabilize what appeared to be a fracturing timeline. Boundary incursions have increased exponentially in the past cycle, Chronoa confirmed, her expression grave. What you're witnessing is the beginning of systematic temporal stress, reality attempting to adapt to external pressure. They reached a magnificent doorway inscribed with cosmic symbols representing the fundamental forces. Unlike the main council chamber, this anteroom was designed for preparation and private consultation before formal presentations. Inside, the space adjusted itself to accommodate their natures, partly structured for Chronoa, partly chaotic for Goku, with shadowy undefined areas for Lyra. A central table materialized, displaying a three-dimensional model of the known multiverse with highlighted areas showing recent disturbances. Before we proceed to the council, I require complete disclosure, Chronoa stated, her formal demeanor fully in place as she addressed Lyra. What exactly did you witness that prompted the Void Lord to send hunters after you specifically? Lyra moved to the multiverse display, her shadowy fingers extending to interact with the model. The display responded, zooming to the boundaries between realities where darkness predominated. I was mapping unexplored boundary regions, standard commission work, when I encountered unusual energy patterns, she explained. Following protocol, I investigated and discovered this. Her fingers traced a pattern that the display immediately recognized, expanding to show a massive structure existing in the darkness between universes. It resembled an inverted tower composed of what appeared to be compressed reality itself, layers of existence folded and compacted into building material. The Convergence Engine, Lyra named it, her voice dropping to a near whisper. A construct designed to harvest structured reality and compress it back to pure potential. According to the records I accessed before fleeing, it's nearly operational. Chronoa studied the image with intense focus, her ancient eyes narrowing as she analyzed the construction. This shouldn't be possible. Construction on this scale would require energy equivalent to multiple universe lifespans. The Void Lord has been building it across cycles, Lyra explained. Each iteration adding to the previous. What you're seeing represents work spanning multiple cosmic cycles. If that's true, then the council must have known about it at some point, Goku observed, surprising both women with his insight. Something this big, built over multiple cycles. How could they miss it unless they were deliberately not looking? The implication hung in the air, creating a tension that even the adaptable room couldn't fully accommodate. Chronoa's expression became carefully neutral, though Goku noticed subtle signs of internal conflict. The council operates on principles of cosmic preservation, she said finally, her words measured. Certain knowledge is deemed too destabilizing to be widely shared, even among cosmic entities. Including knowledge about previous cycles? Goku asked directly. Chronoa hesitated before answering. The continuity of cosmic memory across iterations is complicated. Most entities, even those of council status, experience reset with each cycle. Only a few maintain awareness across transitions. And you're one of them. Lyra stated rather than asked, her galaxy eyes studying Chronoa with newfound understanding. That's why he mentioned your rejection when his herald confronted you. A flash of something, perhaps pain, perhaps anger, crossed Chronoa's features before she regained composure. My personal history with the entity now calling himself the Void Lord is irrelevant to our current situation. Is it? Goku questioned gently. If he's targeting you specifically, or if your past with him gives us insight into his motivations, that seems pretty relevant. The Time Empress turned away, moving to the far side of the model display. For several moments, she stood in silence, the temporal energy around her fluctuating with uncharacteristic instability. When she finally spoke, her voice carried a weight of ancient memory. Before I was the Time Empress, before the current cosmic iteration, I was simply Chronoa, a temporal adept serving on the previous cycle's boundary commission, much like you, she said, addressing Lyra while avoiding Goku's gaze. My partner was an entity specializing in possibility assessment, identifying potential futures and their probabilities. She turned back to face them, her expression carefully controlled. His name was Erebus. We worked together for eons, maintaining the boundaries between defined reality and potential space. We were close. Goku-sen, said, the emotional complexity beneath these simple words, millennia of history compressed into the most basic acknowledgement of a relationship. What happened? He prompted when she fell silent. The previous cycle began failing. Chronoa continued. Not unusual in itself. All cycles eventually reach entropy limits. But Erebus believed he had found a solution. Controlled regression to potential state, followed by guided reformation. A soft reset, rather than complete dissolution. The convergence engine, Lyra whispered. Chronoa nodded. An early version. His intentions were not initially malevolent. He genuinely believed he was preserving cosmic existence. But power corrupts, especially power over fundamental forces. The more he worked with pure potential, the more he became convinced that structured reality itself was the aberration, not the norm. And you disagreed, Goku surmised. Vehemently. She paused, ancient pain briefly visible. We severed ties. I pursued Master. Why of temporal forces to preserve structured reality. He retreated to the boundaries, eventually passing beyond them entirely into the void, where time has no meaning and potential exists without manifestation. When the cycle reset, you retained your memories and ascended to Time Empress, Lyra concluded. And he became the Void Lord, retaining his memories as well, but with a different perspective entirely. Correct. Chronoa's composure had fully returned, her moment of vulnerability sealed away behind millennia of practiced control. Which is why his current activities represent an existential threat beyond normal cosmic conflicts. Erebus doesn't simply want change or conquest. He believes with absolute conviction that reverting all existence to potential state is the natural and correct order. Goku absorbed this information thoughtfully, connecting it with his own experiences. So that's why you defended me to the council. You recognized that conventional cosmic forces might not be enough against something operating outside the normal rules. A hint of approval showed in Chronoa's eyes at his perception. Precisely. Traditional cosmic authorities operate within established parameters. The Void Lord functions outside them. We need counters that can adapt to his methods while remaining anchored to our values. Which explains your unusual cooperation despite your opposing natures, Lyra observed. Looking between them. Fascinating adaptation strategy. Something in her tone caused Chronoa to glance sharply at the Void Walker, a flicker of something complex passing across her features before being suppressed. It's pragmatic cosmic strategy, nothing more. Now, we should prepare for the council presentation. Lyra, you will need to organize your observations into formal testimony. As Chronoa began instructing Lyra on council protocols, Goku found himself reflecting on the Time Empress's revelations. The personal history she'd shared explained much about her actions since his ascension, the immediate response to his emergence, the willingness to train him despite the disruption to her ordered domain, the flashes of emotion that occasionally broke through her composed exterior. There was more to the story than she'd revealed, he was certain. The pain evident when she spoke of Erebus suggested deeper connections than mere professional partnership. But he respected her privacy enough not to press further, at least for now. His thoughts were interrupted by a sudden alarm, not the harmonious tones he'd heard before, but a harsh, discordant sound that set the very crystals of the sanctum vibrating. Chronoa immediately abandoned her instructions, moving to a control interface that materialized at her command. Boundary breach in progress, she announced, her voice shifting to commanding authority. Multiple incursion points detected. Primary target. Her eyes widened with concern. The Chaos Nexus. Goku was immediately alert. The Void Hunters returned with reinforcements. Just like Lyra warned. Not just hunters, Chronoa corrected grimly as data streamed through the interface. These energy signatures indicate higher-order Void entities, nullifiers capable of unmaking defined reality and returning it to potential state. They're targeting your domain deliberately, Lyra observed, moving to study the data. Standard Void Ta, CTIC, eliminate potential opposition bases before main engagement. Goku's expression hardened with resolve. Then we need to defend it. That realm is part of me now. I can feel the attack happening even from here. The council meeting will have to wait, Chronoa decided, already creating a temporal doorway. If the nullifiers successfully convert your domain to void space, it will create a permanent breach point in cosmic structure. As the portal formed, Lyra hesitated, uncertainty visible in her stellar eyes. I should remain here. My presence would only complicate the defense, and the VOID entities will be specifically attuned to my signature. Goku looked to Chronoa for her assessment. The Time Empress considered briefly before nodding. Logical evaluation. You will be safer in THE Sanctum's secure archives until we return. She gestured, and a temporal staff member appeared. Escort our guest to Archive Vault CHRONOS 7. Maximum security protocols. As Lyra was led away, she caught Goku's gaze. Be careful, she warned. Nullifiers can't be defeated through conventional means. They exist partially outside causal reality. Good thing I'm not conventional anymore, he replied with confident determination. Once she had departed, Chronoa turned to Goku, her formal demeanor softening slightly. Your domain is young and still establishing its fundamental patterns. This attack is strategically timed to exploit its vulnerability. Then we'll just have to work together again, Goku replied, his expression brightening at the prospect despite the danger. Our energies created something pretty amazing against that herald, remember? A complex emotion flickered across Chronoa's features, reluctance mingled with something that might have been anticipation. Indeed. How the application will need to be more controlled this time. Combining temporal and chaotic energies at full manifestation could create unpredictable consequences. Unpredictable is my specialty now, Goku reminded her with a grin. Let's go protect my home. They emerged from the temporal doorway into a chaos nexus under siege. The normally vibrant, transformative environment had become a battlefield where reality itself was the contested territory. Vast entities composed of absolute nothingness, not darkness but the complete absence of existence, moved through the realm, converting defined space back to void wherever they touched. Nullifiers, Chronoa confirmed, her staff already extending to create a temporal barrier around them. 5 of them, a significant commitment of void resources. Goku surveyed the situation with tactical clarity enhanced by his godly perception. The nullifiers moved with purpose rather than random destruction, targeting specific nodes where the realm's chaotic energy concentrated. Their strategy was sophisticated, a systematic dismantling of his domain's fundamental structure. They're trying to collapse it from the inside out, he observed. Targeting the pattern points that hold everything together. Precisely. Void entities understand the architecture of reality intimately, they exist to unmake it. Chronoa expanded her temporal shield to protect a critical junction point. We need to force them back to the boundary breach and seal it. Goku nodded, already accessing the deeper connection he shared with his domain. Unlike convent, ional realms that existed separately from their creators, the Chaos Nexus was an extension of his own chaotic nature, responsive to his will on a fundamental level. With focused intent, he reached into the realm's underlying patterns, reinforcing them against the void corruption. The effect was immediate. Areas already fading into nothingness surged back into defined existence, vibrant with renewed chaotic potential. The nullifiers paused in their deconstruction, their featureless forms turning toward Goku in unison. They had no visible sensory organs, yet he felt their focused attention like a physical force. Chaos manifestation confirmed, they communicated, not through sound but directly into consciousness itself. Primary target acquired. Protocol adjustment. Entity neutralization takes priority over domain dissolution. They moved with sudden, synchronized purpose, abandoning their previous targets to converge on Goku. Their approach warped space itself, reality struggling to maintain coherence in their presence. They've recognized you as the domain's anchor point, Chronoa warned, moving closer to establish overlapping defenses. Standard void tactic. Eliminate the organizing consciousness. And the structure becomes vulnerable to conversion. Goku stood his ground, chaotic energy swirling around him in patterns that reflected his martial arts training, disciplined yet unpredictable, structured yet fluid. Good. I'd rather they focus on me than the realm itself. I can handle them. Don't underestimate nullifiers, Chronoa cautioned as she reinforced her temporal barriers. They exist partially outside causality. Normal attacks pass through them without effect because the impact occurs both before and after they exist at that point. So we need to hit them when they don't exist. Goku asked, already formulating strategies, or make them exist fully in one moment. The latter, Chronoa confirmed. They must be forced into complete temporal manifestation before they can be affected by conventional forces. The first nullifier reached their position, its non-form rippling as it encountered their combined defensive barriers. It pressed against the temporal shield, which began to crack under the strain of containing something that existed in quantum flux. Temporal containment failing, Chronoa announced, reinforcing the barrier with visible effort. Their asynchronous nature counters standard temporal freezing. Goku watched the entity's movement pattern carefully, his enhanced perception allowing him to see the subtle fluctuations in its existent state. An idea formed, unorthodox but potentially effective. Chronoa, can you create a localized loop? Not to trap it, but to force it to intersect with its own timeline repeatedly. He asked, already gathering chaotic energy between his palms. The Time Empress grasped his concept immediately. Temporal self-intersection. Ambitious, but theoretically sound. Prepare your attack. With precise movements of her staff, she created a complex temporal construct around the nearest nullifier, not a barrier but a recursive loop that forced the entity to exist at the same spatial coordinates across multiple moments simultaneously. The effect was immediate and dramatic. The nullifier's form became temporarily solid as it intersected with itself, its quantum fluctuation momentarily resolving into definite existence. In that brief window of vulnerability, Goku struck. The chaotic energy he had gathered condensed into a focused beam of pure transformation potential, the antithesis of the void's unmaking purpose. When it connected with the temporarily solidified nullifier, the entity emitted a soundless vibration of distress. Where the chaotic energy touched, the nullifier's form began to transform rather than simply dissolve. Patterns of defined reality spread through its structure like cracks in glass, forcing it to exist rather than not exist. It's working, Goku exclaimed, pouring more energy into the attack. They can't maintain their void state when forced to transform instead. The nullifier's form continued to crystallize into defined existence until it reached a critical threshold. Unable to maintain its fundamental nature against the transformative chaos, it shattered into countless fragments that dissipated into the realm's background energy. One down, Goku noted with satisfaction. 4 to go. Quote, the remaining nullifiers paused in their approach, apparently reassessing their strategy in light of their companion's fate. After a moment of silent communion, they separated, moving to surround Goku and Chronoa from multiple angles. They're adapting, Chronoa warned, her temporal senses tracking their movements. Coordinating to prevent us from focusing on a single target. Then we adapt too, Goku replied, his confidence unwavering. You taught me that chaos can be directed, not just unleashed. Let me show you what I've learned. With that, he released his hold on his physical form, allowing his consciousness to merge more completely with the chaos nexus itself. His body dissolved into patterns of chaotic energy that spread throughout the realm, becoming one with his domain while maintaining his distinct awareness. Chronoa watched this transformation with astonishment. Goku, what are you? Becoming the home field advantage, his voice replied from everywhere and nowhere. They want to unmake my realm. Let's see how they handle it when the realm fights back. The entire chaos nexus surged with renewed vitality as Goku's consciousness infused every aspect of its structure. The floating islands, energy oceans, and transforming landscapes no longer simply changed randomly, they moved with purpose, converging on the nullifiers from all directions. Reality itself became Goku's body, and the martial arts disciplines he had mastered throughout his mortal life now expressed themselves through environmental manipulation on a cosmic scale. Islands became fists, energy currents became kicks, spatial distortions became feints and counters. The nullifiers found themselves engaged from all directions simultaneously, their ability to exist in quantum flux countered by the sheer volume of transformative attacks. Wherever they attempted to dissolve reality back to potential, that very potential was immediately shaped into new forms of attack. Chronoa observed this unprecedented display of chaos control with increasing respect. What Goku was demonstrating went beyond raw power, it showed intimate understanding of his new Nadu. And creative application of his previous skills in an entirely different context. Seizing the opportunity this distraction provided, she focused her temporal powers on creating a more complex verse. Ion of the self-intersection trap that had proven effective against the first nullifier. This time, however, she designed it to affect all 4 remaining entities simultaneously. Goku, she called out to his distributed consciousness. I need them grouped together for maximum temporal effect. Can you herd them toward the central convergence point? On it, his voice replied from the fabric of reality itself. The realm's attacks shifted from direct confrontation to strategic manipulation, driving the nullifiers toward a specific location where multiple reality planes intersected. As they converged, attempting to combine their void influence for greater effect, Chronoa activated her temporal construct. Space-time folded inward at her command, creating a nexus point where past, present, and future versions of the same location existed simultaneously. The nullifiers, caught in this temporal convergence, found their quantum fluctuation forcibly synchronized as they intersected with themselves across multiple timeframes. Now, Chronoa called out, her staff blazing with temporal energy as she maintained the complex construct. Goku's consciousness responded immediately, converging his distributed awareness back toward his physical form, which rematerialized directly above the trapped nullifiers. In his hands, he held what appeared to be a sphere of pure chaotic potential, swirling with infinite possibilities, each canceling and creating others in endless transformation. This is for trying to unmake my home, he declared, compressing the sphere to its absolute limit before releasing it directly into the center of the temporal convergence. The collision of concentrated chaos with temporally trapped void entities created a reaction beyond even Chronoa's predictions. Opposing cosmic forces should have annihilated each other, something else occurred instead, synthesis rather than destruction. The nullifiers, void nature and Goku's chaotic energy combined with Chronoa's temporal convergence to create a momentary aperture, a window that briefly revealed something beyond normal perception. For a split second, both Goku and Chronoa glimpsed what appeared to be multiple versions of reality layered atop one another, each slightly different, each connected by threads of possibility. Then the aperture collapsed, the energy released transforming the nullifiers into nothingness but into defined matter, crystalline structures that held echoes of void energy but could no longer function as unmaking entities. Silence fell across the chaos nexus as the immediate threat ended. Goku descended to where Chronoa stood, his expression showing both triumph and wonder at what they had briefly witnessed. Did you see that? He asked quietly. When everything calmed, Ned, it was like seeing all possibilities at once. Chronoa nodded, her usual composure temporarily disrupted by the experience. The metacosmic aperture, a theoretical phenomenon when fundamental forces align in perfect counterbalance. It's never been reliably documented before. She studied the crystalline remnants of the nullifiers with intense focus. This outcome was unexpected. Void entities should have either been destroyed or reverted to potential. Instead, they've been transformed into defined matter while retaining aspects of their original nature. Goku approached one of the crystal formations, sensing the energy contained within. They're not gone, just changed. Like they've been given form instead of anti-form. Precisely. You didn't destroy them, you transformed them. Chronoa's voice held a note of revelation. This may represent an entirely new approach to void incursion. Transformation rather than opposition. As they surveyed the battlefield, Goku directed his attention to the boundary breach that had allowed the nullifiers entry. Unlike the controlled portal they had used, this was an ugly tear in reality, a wound that leaked void essence into the structured realm. We still need to close that, he observed, moving toward the breach. Otherwise more could come through. Chronoa joined him, her staff already tracing sealing patterns in the air. Temporal closure should be sufficient now that the immediate threat is contained. They worked together to seal the breach, Goku's chaotic energy reinforcing Chronoa's temporal weaving to create a barrier that would resist future intrusion attempts. As the final seam closed, returning the boundary to proper separation. Both entities felt a sense of accomplishment that transcended the immediate victory. "We make a pretty good team," Goku observed, allowing himself to relax now that the danger had passed. "Better than either of us would be alone." Chronoa didn't immediately dismiss this observation as she might have earlier. Instead, she considered it with thoughtful attention. The synergy is unusual but undeniable. Our opposing forces create balance rather than cancellation when properly aligned. She turned to survey the transformed nullifiers once more. This represents a significant development in cosmic defense strategy. The Council will need to be informed immediately. About that, Goku began, his expression turning serious. "After what Lyra told us about the convergence engine and your history with Erebus, I'm wondering how much we should share with the Council all at once." Chronoa raised an eyebrow, surprised by his political awareness. "Explain your concerns." "Well, you said yourself that the Council operates on principles of cosmic preservation. What if so? Me members believe that means accepting the cycle transition as inevitable. Or what if there are connections to the void we don't know about?" He gestured to the crystallized nullifiers. "We've just discovered a completely new way to handle void entities. Maybe we should understand it better before presenting everything." The Time Empress studied him with newfound appreciation. "Your strategic inking continues to evolve at an impressive rate. These are valid concerns." She paused, visibly weighing options before continuing. "A measured approach would be prudent. We present the immediate threat and our successful defense, while continuing to investigate the larger implications privately." "Exactly," Goku agreed, "and it gives us time to figure out exactly what happened with that metacosmic aperture thing." That seemed important, potentially revolutionary, Chronoa corrected. If reproducible, it could provide insight into the fundamental structure of reality across multiple iterations. Her expression grew distant, contemplative. "I've existed through multiple cosmic cycles, yet I've never witnessed such a phenomenon. The implications are significant." As they prepared to return to the Chronos Sanctum, Goku took a moment to reconnect with his domain, ensuring its stability after the attack. The Chaos Nexus had already begun incorporating the crystallized nullifiers into its landscape, adapting them as new features rather than treating them as foreign objects. "The realm is learning," he noted with pride. "Getting stronger and more resilient. As are you," Chronoa observed. "Your control during the battle was remarkable for an entity so recently ascended. Most chaos manifestations take centuries to achieve such harmony with their nature." Goku accepted the compliment with characteristic humility. "I've had a good teacher. And plenty of motivation to learn quickly." As Chronoa opened a temporal doorway back to her sanctum, a thought occurred to him. What will happen to Lyra now? The Void Lord knows she's with us, and he clearly wants her eliminated for what she knows. "The sanctum can provide temporary sanctuary," Chronoa replied. "Beyond that," she hesitated, something complex passing behind her ancient eyes. "We will need to determine her role in the developing situation. Her knowledge of void operations could prove invaluable. She risked everything to bring us warning." Goku pointed out. "That says a lot about her character." Indeed, Chronoa's tone remained neutral, though Goku sensed an undercurrent he couldn't quite identify. "Her courage is commendable, as is her obvious appreciation of your assistance." Before Goku could analyze this comment further, Chronoa stepped through the temporal doorway, effectively ending the conversation. He followed, casting one last glance at his domain, now battle-tested and evolving in response to the challenge it had faced. The Chaos Nexus pulsed with vibrant energy as if acknowledging its creator's attention. Within its transforming landscapes, the crystallized remnants of the nullifiers began to pulse in synchronized rhythm, changed but not destroyed, transformed into something neither void nor chaos but a unique synthesis of both. As the portal closed behind him, neither Goku nor Chronoa noticed this development, a small but significant change that would have profound implications for the conflicts to come. The first steps toward a new possibility had been taken, one that neither time nor chaos had fully anticipated, but which might ultimately provide the key to confronting the approaching void. In the Chronos Sanctum's secure archives, Lyra stood before a temporal viewing portal, observing the battle that had just concluded in the Chaos Nexus. Her stellar eyes widened with wonder as she witnessed the unprecedented combination of temporal and chaotic energies, and the transformation of the nullifiers into crystalline structures. Impossible, she whispered, her shadowy form rippling with excitement. They've created a harmonization matrix. No one has ever successfully integrated opposing cosmic forces without mutual neutralization. She reached out to touch the viewing portal, her fingers leaving trails of void essence across its surface. The balance is shifting, new possibilities emerging. A small smile formed on her featureless face. The Void Lord anticipated resistance, but not innovation. This changes everything. She turned away from the portal as she sensed Goku and Chronoa's imminent return, her expression returning to careful neutrality. Whatever observations she had made, whatever conclusions she had drawn, she kept to herself, another player in the cosmic game carefully positioning her pieces for moves yet to come. The Kami, in conflicts, would test not just power and strategy, but loyalty and truth, determining who was ally, who was enemy, and who might be both at once. In a battle spanning multiple cosmic cycles, nothing was ever quite what it seemed. And no one's motivations were entirely transparent, not even those of a Void Walker seeking asylum from her former master. Chapter 2 End. The End. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Remember to subscribe and like this video. See you in the next video.